So before I go into this review, there's a couple of things, some good news and some bad news. The good news is Stargirl has been renewed for a second season, and I think that it thoroughly deserves to. For the most part, the series is doing things correctly. I think it's fun, I think it's entertaining, I think the characters are relatively likeable. Again, for the most part, there are exceptions to the rule. And I think it deserves another shot. The bad news is it's going to be exclusive to the CW, which means it's going to be leaving DC Universe, which means it's going to have a drop in budget, it's going to have a drop in quality, and probably more importantly, it's going to have a massive injection of identity politics. It's been very subtle so far, for the most part, and that's a bit of a shame, because I don't know if they'll be able to hold on to cast members like Luke Wilson, Amy Smart, etc., and I don't know if we're still going to have the same quality of writing that we've had now, because, again, I think that's going to go by the wayside too. So good news and bad news, I guess we're just going to have to see how Season 2 pans out. So with that said, let's get into this two-parter review for SHIV! Hi everyone, it's Az here from HeelvsBabyface in what's probably going to be an extended Stargirl review, because I'm going to be dealing with both parts, ladies, of the two-parter SHIV, I believe it's called, which took over episodes 7 and 8 of this season. So as I always do, I'll just give a very brief overview, and then we'll get into the nooks and the crannies of the episode. So all in all, for the most part, by the way, this video is probably going to be sponsored by the phrase, for the most part, because there are, of course, exceptions to many of these rules. I thought it was really good. I do like this show. I want to make it perfectly clear. I do like this show. I think this show is coming from the right place. I can legitimately feel the intentions of the crew, everyone involved in this project. This doesn't feel shoehorned. It doesn't feel as if there's any particular agenda, although there is a little bit here and there, and some of it's right in your face, and we'll get to it. But for the most part, I think they just really want to create a fun show, and some of the things which I've been critical of in this two-parter, they kind of get paid off, and I liked it. There are some elements which I do think need a lot of work, and when I say a lot of work, I mean a lot of work. But let's get into it, right? Because it starts off nice and cheesy, okay? All the various members of the Justice Society, I should say, are all excited and happy in the morning, and the music's playing. Look at this t-shirt. Empowered women shine brighter. No, stop it. It's just nonsense. Stop that nonsense, okay? Of course, apart from, of course, Moody Guy. Moody Guy is just Moody Guy. That is his role. That I don't think he does anything but be moody. And then we got everyone excited to be part. Yolanda's like, oh, I've got a bunny costume. And then we get onto this Bint, who's in karaoke mode on the goggles. Right, this is the problem. This is the big problem. This character is dog shit. Utter dog shit. They have nothing that they bring to the table. Everything is the goggles. The goggles tell them everything. The goggles push them. The goggles give them all the knowledge. They can't fight. They have no brawn whatsoever. They're slow. They're clumsy. I know that you're maybe trying to do a contrast with some of the other characters in it, because Stargirl, very athletic. Yolanda is boom, boom, boom. And then you've got miserable Rex, who's miserable, but when he flips the hourglass thing. He gets an hour of super duper pooper pooper. But no brawn here. This is the brains, but it's not the brains. The goggles, the brains. You could take the goggles off and put them onto anyone. They could do exactly the same thing. She doesn't even gel with the rest of the group. She just happenstanced to steal them from Courtney's room after eavesdropping. There's a very bad story which has been told with this character, which is a shame because, you know, a couple of them are alright, and then a parent's just like, hey, did you make us lunch? And she's like, no. Oh my god, she's losing dependency on her parents. I got stuff to do. Great, wonderful. Doggy's cute, and I'm in the way of the doggy. Sorry. So we have Pat and Stargirl come up through the cellar, and he's talking to her about training, and then, hey, what are you talking about with the fucking training? And he's coming from his paper round. They paid off the paper round. Oh my god. No one cares. Yeah, he's got a paper round, and he's doing it in the morning, and he's like, hey, what are you talking about training with the beautiful lady? I mean, we're not actually sisters, and if I had my way back in the day, I'd probably crush the pussy. So, they're just like, I'm gonna learn to drive, or something. And he's just like, what? Like, give me the soul of the sweetest. That was that scene. And then Amy Smart overhears them and says, hey, can we have a word? She's like, hey, you didn't tell me that you were going to do this. This was, you know, kind of like my daughter, decision to be made by me sort of thing as well. And he's like, I'm sorry. Pat's like, I'm sorry. I should tell you things. I should tell you everything. But he doesn't, because Courtney's like, don't do it. So, Amy Smart's happy. We've got Brainwave. Brainwave? Maybe I got that right. Brainwave in the hospital still. This actor must be a little bit peeved off now. Because he spent 6 episodes in a bed. But his son Henry is by his side. And I'm kind of warming to this character now. This is what I like about this. This is what I'm liking about the show. Is they're adding little layers of complexity to the characters, and they'll do some good things with Henry. They don't focus on him massively, but they do some really nice little things with this character. And it allows you to relate to them, and it allows you to empathize with them, considering how much of a kind of jock he's been portrayed as so far. His girlfriend comes in, she's all very, you know, oh my god, I'm Cruella and stuff. And she's like, hey, I brought some flowers for your daddy. We need to go to the... Oh, no, not yet. And he's just like, yeah, thanks, cheers. My dad's, you know, I just want to stay here with my dad and stuff, and she's like, fine. And it just like, huggies, outies, and she's just like, oh, God, this guy's boring. So she's kind of getting peeved with her boyfriend because he's actually concerned about his father being in a coma. But it all gets revealed later on. Stargirl. Oh my god, the new Batwoman was cast. Okay, I did a video on it. Watch that. So then we get this quite funny moment, and I laughed. Now, I'm going to be totally honest. Because of the time I hoped to have got this out on Monday. That didn't work, did it? No. So I had to rewatch both parts of this two-parter to refresh myself. And both times at this part, I laughed. So there's, again, Courtney. A little bit of music playing. She catches the eye of Rex, and then they like turn and walk together. And then Yolanda turns from the lockers, and she's like, "Yeah, let's go." And they all like smile and walking together. And then Bint comes up behind them, and she's like, "I have no idea why I'm here, but hey!" And they're all like big smiles and like, you know, strutting through the hallway. And then Cindy just like smashes through them. It's just like, nerds! And I just laughed because it subverted my expectation in the right way. You thought it was just going to be that stereotypical, here we go, boo, and then boosh, smashes straight through them. Nerds! It was good. It was funny. So, I forget what that bit was. Anyway, Amy is at work. We get a little bit of Amy Smart today, and a little bit of. So I might be right about something. We'll see. So her boss is just like, hey, a piece of property has come up. I'd like your help to try and secure it. This guy is brilliant. This guy's Icicle is fantastic. I'm so conflicted with the way that I should feel about him, because I know that he's a villain, and yet he exhibits some, massive amounts of humanity when it comes to his family and stuff. And he's very charming as well, so you can see how people would fall for the charm element of it. And then he does horrible, horrible things. And you're like, ooh, like the killing of people. But that's the sign of a good actor. That's the sign of good writing as well. So I do love Icicle. I think the guy is absolutely fab. So she's just like, okay, yeah, but it means going out of town for the night. More of that later. And Amy's like, I'm gonna get my poos crushed. No, she doesn't. Anyway, Cruella's friend is just like, hey, we can double date at the... Oh, yeah. In the hospital... Cindy was just like, hey, can we go to the prom to Henry? And Henry's just like, I don't want to go to the prom. My dad's here in a coma. I don't want to go to the prom, okay? So she's like, of course, it's fine. And then a cuddle. And then her friend comes up. She's like, hey, I got a date for the prom. Let's go double date. And she's just like, ugh, I'm not going to go to the prom. Get stuffed. And she's just like, you're such a bitch, Cindy. And she's like, what did you say? It's like, you're a bitch. And she's like, I need some time away from you. She's like, no, I need time away from you. And they have a frenzy split upsies. So, essentially, what we're seeing is Cindy is being systematically isolated. Her friends are leaving her, boyfriend's not paying attention to her, etc. So we're seeing the character being isolated. And it's interesting because they'll develop her because of this. It's very good. And then the janitor, who I said, keep an eye on this guy because something's up with this guy. He picks up her stuff and he hands it to her. And he says something like, there's always good in everything. And he's talking about her because she's a nasty person. So he's talking about there's always a little bit of good in everyone. And she's just like, and then he starts sniffing her books, and it's actually really disturbing and weird. And she's like, ah! And runs away. Anyway, she kicks his mop down, and Cindy goes and picks up the mop and hands it back to him. Cindy's now pissed because her friend's been nasty to her, and she's all alone. So she goes up to Henry. She's like, Henry, please, can we go to the prom together? And Henry's just like, look, if you want to go to the prom, go to the sodding prom, but get a different guy, right? Because I need to go look after my dad. So fucking jog on, woman. Then we actually get into the janitor's office. And I was in a janitor's office once. Not with the janitor. And I can't say what we got up to. It wasn't the janitor. It was my girlfriend at the time. Yeah. Anyway, you don't need to know about that. That was a long time ago in a galaxy far away. And then it pans to his utilities. And look! We see this almost like Crusader-esque sword. So I'm just like, who is this guy? Is he King Arthur? Is he a Knight of the Round Table? Is he Sir Lancelot? Is he Merlin? I don't know, because I'm not au fait with that sort of aspect of the of the comics. So I don't know, but he's something like that. He's something like that. There's something about this guy. Anyway, more on that later. So Courtney and Cindy have to team up to do a science experiment, and they don't get on it. Well, Courtney tries. Cindy's like obviously dismissive, and then they start to get on a little bit, and they talk, and then Cindy's like, hey, well, we'll get to that later. So anyway, Henry's in class, and he's having trouble concentrating because of his dad, but he's also having trouble concentrating because he's getting the ES of the P's. The mind reading is starting to formulate in him, kind of like Clark Kent in Smallville. This seems to be a power that manifested itself through puberty and adolescence. And it's starting to manifest itself more prominently, probably because either his dad's out of action, so it's triggering in, or his dad, whose brain might still be functional, is influencing this. So we will discover this at some point, I imagine. But he starts to hear people's thoughts, and he's taken a test, and they're giving the answers. So he's like really sort of like, what's going on at first? And then he's just like, wait a minute, I'm getting all the answers to the tests here. So he starts putting the answers down. So he's going to start doing really well academically. They working on their science experiment, and Courtney's just like, wow, you just don't seem to be measuring out any of the chemicals. And Cindy's just like, well, that's because I've done this all the time when I was a kid. My dad used to leave the cupboard unlocked, and we used to do this. And it all pays off. It's not just pie in the sky. And she's like, she knows the exact quantities and measurements to put in to do the respective experiment. And they start to bond. And so Cindy's like, hey, are you going to the prom? And she's like, no. She's like, okay, well, do you want to hang out with me then on that night? And Cindy's like, Courtney's like, yeah, okay, we'll do that. So she's like, cool. So you're like, okay, are they going to become friendsies? Is she going to become the next member of the Justice Society? Are we going to see a different side to Cindy? And it's just, well, we're going to find out, because shit goes real weird now. Cindy gets home, and when she gets home, there's her stepmom, and her stepmom is petrified of her. She's got a plate of cookies, which she doinks out of her hand, because Cindy is a bitch. She's Cruella, and she plays it very well indeed. And she essentially has this woman around her little finger. And she's just like, I've had a bad day. I want some wine and some cheese. And she's like, oh, you silly goose, I can't give you wine. And she's just like, look, you're a glorified babysitter. And if you don't get my wine, then you know what's going to happen. She's like, okay, I'll give you some wine. And then she goes to a keypad, and she's like, oh, your father doesn't want you to go down there. She's like, shut up, bitch. So she goes, keys in the code, goes around the corner, and who do we see around the corner locked up? It is Solomon Grundy locked up. And then I had a thought. And I thought, why is Solomon Grundy locked up? And they say later on in the episode whether or not the Injustice Society are still controlling Solomon Grundy. And I thought, oh, how would you control Solomon Grundy? Brainwave. Brainwave would have been controlling Solomon Grundy, but Brainwave is in a coma, and hence why he's still locked up. Because they don't have Brainwave, and so he would be unruly. Things are starting to come together. So we then go to Pat's garage, and he's got the Justice Society arrive because he wants to do some training so they don't get killed at it. So he takes them to a back room, No, he doesn't do any of that Twitch streamer stuff with them. And he shows them a little setup that he's got, which is a bunch of naff puppets of the Injustice Society, but we'll get there. Anywho, they're having their own meeting while this is all going on, and Cindy's listening in, and they're talking about who do they think that Stargirl knows who they are. The Justice Society know who they are, and Icicle's like, no, because if they did, then they will be coming for us. Gambler's like, I'm running facial recognition all over the place to try and discover who these people are. And so, you know, it's nice little, they don't know what's going on, the others don't quite know what's going on. I liked it. It's kind of Cold War-ish, no pun intended, for Icicle. Anyway, Cindy, who's listening in, gets dragged round the corner by an arm. Oh my god, what's going on, Z's? So, this is what I quite liked. Courtney has been very precocious these last few episodes. And it's something which I've not been particularly happy with. She's not listening to Pat. She's not paying attention. She thinks she knows everything already. And Pat has had to be subservient for a lot of it. And that, to me, was bad writing. She's still the same here. She's impatient. She doesn't want to listen to Pat. She doesn't want to listen to his lessons. She thinks she knows it all. And she keeps cutting him off. And then she just herself goes round and smashes all of the puppets with her stuff. And she's like, look, I'm ready. And then Pat's just like, Courtney, they weren't just for you. They were for everyone to start training on. So everyone's a bit miffed with her because she's destroyed all of the toys for training. And of course, she's being self-centered. And then we get the reveal of Cindy's father. And Cindy's father is this dragon guy. I forgot what he's called. Dr. Mystery or whatever. But I do love the look of this character. I think his costume is great. I really do. I think his costume is absolutely fantastic. And Cindy's just like, I want a place at the table of the Injustice Society. And her dad's just like, no. And can you stop, you know, being a twat to your stepmom? Because I can't make them. He clearly uses chemicals and all this to create these people. Not when I say create these people, control these people, mutate these people, stuff like that. And his wife, her stepmom, is one of these creations, and that's why it's so petrified. Because apparently Courtney keeps killing them when they piss her off, and so he has to make more. And he's like not buying into her, you know, petulance, and he comes across as quite scary and dominating, and then he's got a costume that he's made for her when she's ready for it. It's a pretty decent costume, actually. I like the look of it. Legit. And he said, it's not ready for you yet. And she's going around, she's killing his little accolades and stuff. And he's just like tolerating it to a point. And then when he puts his foot down, Daddy puts his foot down. So Courtney's testing her boundaries, but she knows which boundary not to cross. And so he's just like, you're my greatest creation, daughter. Creation. And she's like, yeah, and you're horrible. So so there's a little bit of mirroring going on between the father-daughter and the father-daughter with Pat and Courtney as well. So Amy Smart's going to jog on now. She's going to go for her little business trip away. And so Pat's going to take them to the homecoming game. I loved this scene. Legitimately, I loved this scene. I thought it was beautiful. Beautiful. This is the dichotomy, I suppose, of Icicle. This is why this character is so damn good. Because his son, who clearly doesn't know what's going on, he's not part of all of this nastiness. He's an innocent in all of this. He comes back home and his dad's just like, hi, and he's being quiet, and his dad's like, hey, what's up? And he finally decides to talk, and he's like, why was he being a bit off with his dad? And then you realise he was embarrassed because he's just like, I want to ask a girl to the prom, and I don't know what she's going to say, and I don't want to get rejected type of thing. So his dad, because his dad, this is it, he's a good father. He's clearly a good father to his son. And he's just like, and he starts to recall the time that he met his wife, obviously. And he says, there was myself and there was a rival. And he's like, oh, what happened to the rival? And his dad goes, I killed him. And then there's this pause, and then he laughs, and then his son laughs, because obviously he didn't kill him. He killed him. He killed the love rival to his wife. But the way that he tells the story, and the way that he listens to his son and connects with his son, and he's just like, go for it. Go for it, son. And he gives his son the confidence to ask the girl to the prom. And it's a lovely, heartwarming scene between a father and son. And obviously, you feel the pain of the loss of his wife still. This actor is fucking great. This actor is superb. Absolutely superb. I really, really hope they don't lose him. I really hope that he's not, like, written out at the end of season 1. Ugh. Because he's invaluable to this show. Invaluable. Him and Pat, to me, are the two best characters in this show. Him and Pat, by maybe a little, a little bit of head and shoulders above the rest. And it's a lovely scene. Great scene. So he's packing to go on his business trip. So this is a real weird thing that happened. They arrive at the game, the homecoming game or whatever it is. Hey, I'm gonna blow the beat up. And it's bright sunshine, as you can see. And then the next thing you know, the floodlights are gone and it's dark. What happened? I don't know how that was meant to go down, but it felt really clunky. And it didn't feel as if there was an elapse of time between the sun going down and the lights coming up. And why would they be waiting for so... Anywho, the game kicks off. And Pat's just like, does anyone want anything? And he's like, yeah, I'd like to get a Coca-Cola and a hot dog and a former ring and some popcorn, and I'd like to cross some pootsie in the half time. And his dad says, oh, you get a hot dog and a Coke. And Courtney's just like, no, I'm okay. And so and then she notices that the fiddler woman, the headmistress, whatever, she's here and she's like pointing him out, and Pat's just like, leave her alone, because to him, the fiddler in the Injustice Society was this white dude. So he still thinks it's a white dude, but Courtney knows best because Courtney's already seen her playing her fiddle. That's not a euphemism for masturbation. So he's just like, leave her alone. But Courtney's not going to be able to do it. So Pat goes away to get the stuff. And then little Enrico Palazzo here, he's just like, hey, fuck you off. He's talking to my dad. He's not to your dad. He's a mother, papa. Not to your papa. It's me, papa. You got your own stuff. You leave him alone. He's a man. He's a heart for us. We're the family. We're the blood. And Courtney's just like, whoa. Holy shit. Where did that come from, dude? And then he storms off. And so he storms off. Pat's gone to get all the stuff. Courtney is looking at this guy's dick. And things are getting really weird. No, not quite. Something else happens. So the guy sits down and it's Courtney that he wants to ask to the prom. And I thought, do you know something? This couple, this is a cute couple. They are a cute couple. They look good together. Blonde, dark-haired, about the same height, short ass. But they look like a cute couple together. If they're dating in real life, somebody tell me. Because they felt like there was some chemistry between them. Did feel like there's some chemistry between them, which is good because I haven't seen chemistry in a relationship on TV for a long time. Anyway, he says, hey, do you fancy going to the prom? And she's just like, I'm not going. But I got plans because I agreed to hang out with Cindy. And he's like, oh, okay. And she's like, but I really want to go. So I tell you what, I'm gonna talk to Cindy, who's cheerleading over there, and I'm gonna tell her we'll just hang out another night and we'll go to the prom together. And you're kind of like, oh, that's cute. So it's like cute, it's nice, it's a lovely little lovely little moment between them. So she goes to Cindy. She's like, hey, Cindy, can we rearrange Saturday or whenever the prom is? Because I got a date. I got asked. And Cindy's just like, get out of here, bitch. We're no longer friends. It's over. Sports master, gym guy. I don't know if they're the same person. I don't know. I'm really confused. He's like, hey, Pat, this isn't part of your diet. And Pat's just like, fuck off, mate. Anywho, Courtney then decides to start following the fiddler woman, headmistressy woman, because she hears her on the phone saying that they're going to attempt to wake Brainwave up again. The song that she's playing is an attempt to stimulate the brainwaves to get him to wake up. And then she notices her going through a secret door in her office or an office or whatever. So Courtney's just like, right, let's suit up. And then Pat's like, hey, where's Courtney? And Enrico Palazzo's is like, I don't know. I don't know why she would have run away. I mean, I totally didn't tell her to go fuck herself. So he starts, eating everything. Courtney grabs her Stargirl outfit and a staff. And then who do we see again in the corridor? I wonder if he comes back later. And then Courtney goes into the office. The staff blows open the doorway for her to go through. She starts creeping around corridors. Cindy is now mega pissed because everybody has left her. Her boyfriend don't want to know. Her bestie don't want to know. Courtney don't want to know because Courtney's got a date. So she's all alone. She's crying. She's upset and she's mad. And she wants a part. She wants to be part of the Injustice Society. I want a place at the table. Screw these kids. Screw high school. Screw this life. You kind of understand, when you were at school, when you're at high school and you might have had a dust up with your friend and you get home that night and you say, I don't need anyone. I don't need anyone. And then you're friends the next day. It's all good. And then she can't go in because the code's been changed or whatever. And then she sees that the alarm's been tripped. And she's like, Stargirl. And then she looks at her costume. And it looks cool. It looks really cool. So she dresses up in the costume. And then Courtney finds that the exit just leads back into school. So she's just like, what? I went in at school and out at school and we're just at school. Oh, hi. Hi, dude. I'll contact you back in a minute. And so she goes to the door and then boosh! Cindy starts kicking the living shit out of her. And she's like, Stargirl, I presume. The football match is still going on. They're smashing each other all over the place. There's sparks, there's spangles, there's banners. And Cindy's a really good fighter. And she's kicking the shit out of Stargirl. Stargirl who thought she could do everything. Stargirl who thought she didn't need training. Stargirl who didn't think about her teammates because she's a little bit selfish and thinks it's all about her at the moment. Gets her ass kicked when she's on her own by somebody who's a lot more skilled and trained than her. Boom. She got taught a lesson. So she has her face. Courtney manages to get a blast into the face of Cindy, and it rips all of her face off. And then she's like, "Oh no!" And then the face heals itself up, and then she's like, "Oh no," because she realizes I'm dealing with somebody with extraordinary powers here. I mean, there's no mask, so she knows that it's Cindy. And then she keeps getting her ass kicked, and then they grab the staff together. And then I think what happens is Cindy like flicks her wrist so her blades come out, and they stab Courtney in her hands, and it forces her back, and then she kicks the crap out of her again. So her hands or wrists or something have been hit, and she falls unconscious. But before before the killing blow can be landed, Janitor comes in with his Crusader sword and boosh! Cuts the flame blade that Cindy had in half and causes her to retreat. And then Pat goes looking for her, and the staff drags Pat to her, knocks her unconscious. You can see her unconscious there. And then she wakes. The janitor sees Stripesies, and he's like, "Stripesies!" This mystery will be revealed at some point. And then Pat comes in. Cindy hears Pat coming, so she makes a retreat. And then the episode ends with Pat holding an unconscious, bloody, and beaten Courtney. And this was a damn good first part of the two-parter. So now, with the flick of a transition, because I've got to go watch the second part again to refresh myself, let's do a review of part 2 of SHIV. Hi, I'm back. There's probably been about 3 hours difference between the transition. But I have rewatched episode 8 in that time, and it's not as good as episode 7. It's got some good moments in it. It also has some pretty trashy moments in it. But we'll get to it all. We'll get to it all. So it starts off kind of similar to the first part, in as much as musical interlude going on. But we see this time that it's Pat driving his car, and he drives the car into a tree. What just happened? So we then go over to Icicle and Amy Smart, and they are having a nice little dinner after she's closed the deal. Good on her. And he says, "Look, I gotta whiz off. I gotta meet a friend. Please stay here. Order yourself some dessert. The check will be put to my room, so don't worry about it." And then he goes off, but just before he leaves, he stops. He takes a look back at Amy Smart, turns around, and smiles. Not in a malicious way, not in a nefarious way. Smiles as if, for the first time in a long, long time, he enjoyed the company of a female that wasn't his wife. And again, it kind of made you empathize with Icicle. This guy is such a good actor. I think he's fantastic. And with everything that's going to happen with Amy Smart, because Pat keeps dodging out of telling her what's going on with the Justice Society and Courtney and whatnot, I can't help but think that a rift between them is going to form. And maybe, just maybe, he might send her into the arms of Icicle. So, Pat calls her, and he says, "Oh, there's been an accident. I've got a moth flying around. there's been an accident. Everyone's okay, but Courtney's in hospital. So this is how he's covering up the fact that she was attacked at school and her injuries from the fight with Cindy. And then we see Courtney waking up in a hospital bed. She turns around, Pat's there, and she's like, what's going on? And he explains the situation to her. He's like, we've got you here. And she's like, why do you have a bruise on you? And he said, well, to explain your injuries, there had to be an accident. For there to be an accident, there had to be a police report. So I had to do an accident. And he crashed the Buick, as we saw. And she's like, but you love that Buick. And he responds in a great way. And he says, yeah, it doesn't matter. It's a thing. You're a person. It's life is way more important than any possession that we have, sort of business. And it's very nice and very kind. It's one of the reasons why Pat's such a likable character. He's not per se milk toast. I just think that Pat is very empathetic, and he comes across as very empathetic. And that's what a good character is. That he's not one-dimensional. He's not just a Gordon Goodbody. He's got depth. He's got layers. But it's his empathy which is his defining characteristic. Oh, Greg Berlanti. So, yeah, there's a nice little, moment, and he berates her. Then he tells her off. She was like, I'm sorry for doing this alone. And he's just like, you could have got killed. You could have got killed due to your arrogance. You could have got killed because of this. And she's like, I know. So maybe, just maybe, Courtney's actually going to start listening for once instead of acting. But we're going to find out. Then we then go to Cindy, who says, I just fought Stargirl. And he's like, I know, I watched on the monitors. And then she's like, she's dead, don't worry about it. And he's like, it's a shame! You brought her into the catacombs! Into the hallways! Daddy, not happy. And so Daddy says, look, you're not getting a place at the table. It's very unlikely you'll ever get a place at the table now. And she tries to be cocky back to him. And he's just like, don't make me take my mask off. And that scares her. That clearly scares her. And she's forced to retreat. The JSA are at the pit stop. And they do all feel, this is the poor thing, that this is either good or bad, depending which way you want to look at it, okay? The JSA completely feel like a rudderless ship. Unless they have somebody telling them what to do, they really don't have that much about them at all. They are not heroes. What they possess makes them powerful. But I wouldn't class any of these three heroes at all. They've done nothing to display that selflessness. And that's the defining characteristic of a hero, that selflessness. That ability, the altruistic ability. And it doesn't feel like that's their reason. He loves to have his power. She loves to feel powerful with the costume. She loves to feel powerful with the goggles. None of these people are heroes. None of them. And like, what should we do? And he's like, let's smash them, because let's just go around to Cindy's house and smash them or whatever. And then, silly Bint, who's a nothing character without her goggles, is like, I've got an idea. And yes, spoiler alert. And she says, and it's a great one. Spoiler alert, it's shit. It's terrible. And we'll get to that shortly. So Courtney's being wheeled out of hospital. She's been given the go-ahead to leave, and she goes past the door of Henry, who's sat with his father, and she's like, "Hi, Henry." And he looks over, and you think, oh, he's like, "Oh my God, Courtney, what's wrong? You're in a wheelchair," sort of thing. And he looks shocked, and he gets up, and he walks to the door, and then he shuts it on her face. Shuts it on her face. "See ya, bitch. See you later." But there's more to Henry, and he's going to come into play later on. And I am warming to this character. I do like what they're doing with Henry. So she goes home. "Hey, I brought you some pizza roll. I like the pizza roll, but I like, I was nasty to you before, so have a pizza roll." Type of business. Here, Mike apologizes to Courtney for being a dick earlier. She's like, "It's fine. It's fine. You're my little bro," and all that kind of stuff. Whatever. They bonded back. Pat goes down into the cellar and wants a word with the staff. He's like, "Look, Courtney isn't like Starman. Starman was an adult when he found you, whenever you crossed your paths. And so he was much more prepared and developed maturely for this. Courtney isn't. She's a 15-year-old girl in this story. And instead of rushing her into danger, you gotta try and maybe take her out of harm's way." And then there's no reaction from the staff, and then he leaves, and then the staff lights up as if it's recognized what Pat said. So Amy Smart comes back in from being out. So she's done a lot of traveling. Courtney's asleep in bed. She's like, "Hey, you okay?" Checks in on her. She's sleeping. She leaves her be. She comes out. Pat's there. Pat wants to tell her everything. He wants to explain everything about the JSA, Courtney, Cosmic Staff, the whole job lot. Amy Smart's just like, "No, I'm so tired from all this traveling. I just want to go to bed." And he's like, "Okay." So Pat's trying to come clean. He's trying to explain, but again, this is a weird one because, of course, Amy Smart is Courtney's mother. And it would be such a different thing to do to make the mother flawed, to make her maybe even have that affair with Icicle. I think it would be a good thing. I do think it would be a good thing. I hope that's the direction that they're going in. So we then get this guy coming back to his hotel room, and hello, Mr. Icicle's waiting for him, and he's very calm and he's very cool. And the guy tries to leave, and he freezes the handle, so he gets a frost burn on him. Frost burns. And then he goes into his story. He's like, "Hey, you've been promoted very quickly in your current job, like 4 promotions in 7 years. You're vice president of this or something or other." And then he says, "And before that, you're at this other chemical company. A chemical company that kind of didn't have a very good record, that did some poor dealings, nefarious dealings, which led to people getting hurt, people getting killed, like a school teacher, his wife." He's referring to his wife. This was somebody who's responsible in that chemical company for his wife getting cancer and dying. And he said it was, and he says at the end, he's like, "It's such a shame all those people had to die, and you." And it's just like, oh. And then the guy is like, "You crazy?" And he tries to leave, and then he just turns into Icicle in front of him, and then blows on him till he's frozen, and he falls onto the ground, and he would smash. And then he just sits back in his chair, puts his leg over, and just sits there calmly. No rush. No fuss. This is an amazing villain. This is an amazing character, period. So Henry's getting, like, big pains in his head. He's got this massive humming in his head, and it doesn't seem to go away. Then he finds the key in his dad's locker, and it goes away for a period of time, and he's trying to find the pills that are going to numb this headache. Then it comes back again. He gets the pain back in his head, and then he realized that he could lift the pill with his mind. To be continued on that front. Pat just happens to turn up at Cindy's house, where the Justice Society are looking to infiltrate to discover something about Cindy. And Pat's just like, where's the stupid cow? And they're like, stupid cow's at the door. And he's like, oh, God. So we have what is a really cringe-inducing part of the episode. And it goes on for so long as well. The stepmom opens the door. She's like, hi. And she's like, hi, I've come to see Cindy. She's going to teach me how to cheerlead. And she does like a stupid step because she's the retard. And it's meant to make us go, ha, 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 ha. And it just makes me go, oh. It's not funny. It's not funny, and you don't deserve anything. And then it's like, who are you? And it's like, this is my daughter. And she like looks at them like, hello, you're a cracker and you're not. And they're like, oh, it's just like, totally would though. Oh, I would, without a doubt. So Courtney's back at home. She's texting Yolanda. She tells them they're all over at Pat's, at Cindy's. And then her mum comes in and says, hey, got a guest for you. And it's Cindy. It's Cindy, who she's been fighting with the night before. So Courtney is like, and then Cindy's just like, hi, look, I've come round to apologize for yesterday. And Courtney's kind of like, does she mean us fighting? Does she know it was me? Or does she mean the argument that we had when she was on the football field when I told her I wanted to go to the dance? So Courtney's like really on edge. And Cindy's just talking normally because, she's just talking normally. So she's brought some chocolates along. She like does her sassy insults. Oh, I love your bedroom if you're into thrift store chic and all that kind of stuff. And she's just like, let's sit down and talk. So the mum comes out with some cookies. Yeah, she does. Anyway, and the girl's just like, yeah, I love cookies. And Pat's like, nope, I'm not the useless one here. And then she's just like, oh, these are great cookies. Can I have some water, please? And she's like, yeah, I'll go get some water. And then she gets the goggles out. Pat's like, get the goggles out, have a look around the house, see if you can find anything. So she puts the goggles on. We have a comedy moment where the goggles says, Pat has put on 15 pounds since I last saw him. That's harsh. Oh, Luke. Damn it! For the first time about 4 episodes, I said Owen. Luke Wilson looks fantastic. Leave the man alone. I am also 5'11". I am most definitely not 175 pounds, though. And then she comes back and she's like, why do you have retard glasses on? And she's just like, oh, my eyesight's really bad, so I need these. And then she takes a sip of water and is like, oh, this water went right through me. Can I go to your toilet? This is getting painful. This is getting painful to watch. It's not funny. It's cringe-inducing. So she's going to go round the house and she's going to try and find something. And they're like, this house is really weird. One thing that was clever, though, is there's a bookcase. And when the woman's off getting the water or the cookies or whatever, they pick up the books. And the books are just like a cardboard front of what should be books. That was quite amusing because those are the tricks that they use in these shows to make it look like you got books and shit. So it's kind of like a nudge, nudge, wink, wink. sort of joke. So that's fine. And I'm like, this house is exceedingly sparse, considering it's meant to be a family home. The others are outside. She finds the keypad. Courtney's like eating all the chocolates and then like spitting them out if she doesn't like them and saying, hey, Courtney, you can have this one. I'm kind of really beginning to like Cindy. Like, for the first 6 episodes, she was just generic mean girl. But now she's like mean girl because her dad's a psycho supervillain and she's a psycho supervillain. It suddenly takes on a whole new meaning. She might not be a teenager. She might be quite old, but has just kept her youthful looks for so long. There's lots of things we don't necessarily know about Cindy, and so she's actually becoming quite a funny character once you start to view it from that perspective. And she just keeps, having a chat about, look, the truth of the matter is, right now, I need a friend, and, I've been doing all these, being horrible and all this kind of stuff, and we're not so different, Courtney, you and I, with our dads and stuff. You could be me, you could be that mean girl at school if things hadn't quite gone for you. And Courtney's like, well, you could be like me. You could have been a bit more optimistic and upbeat, even though life didn't do you those sort of apples. And Courtney's like, yeah, I could have been like you. And then she's just like, okay. So Bint goes into the catacombs and she's walking. Then Courtney says, okay, time for me to go. And she's just about to go. She goes, just one more thing before I go. Love the staff, Stargirl. Loved it. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. Because I was thinking, how can Cindy and Courtney, it's so annoying. How can Cindy not know that this is Stargirl? She goes to school with her. The mask is hardly, blocks anything. Her hairstyle is identical. It's not as if at school she has it back in a ponytail like she's got now. Like she probably should have. This is how she should wear it at school. And then when she turned around and went, nice staff, Stargirl. I thought that was just brilliant, and Courtney's face is like, she does know. She was actually not referring to the football field argument. She was referring to the fight we bloody had all along. And that was really, really good. And she says, I'll be back. Don't worry for you. But first, I'm going to kill your friends. And then she leaves, and it's really, really well done. Look at that look. It's really well done. I thought it was excellent. Put a huge smile on my face. These two are just like, what should we do? We need to do something because we're in a 2-parter and we've barely done a thing. And he's like, put your costume on and I'll do something. So Courtney's texting Yolanda to say, she knows. Bint is walking down a corridor, hears some noises and just like, sod this, I'm out, and runs back. Utterly useless. She goes into Courtney's bedroom. She finds a picture of her dad, who was a Japanese soldier back in World War II, or back at a Japanese, researcher, chemist, naughty boy. And he was actually executed in 1947 for war crimes, but he's downstairs looking like a lizard. Pat is now under her sink, and that's not a euphemism. But she would like him to be under her sink, because she's like checking Pat out and like giving him the come on and rubbing his leg and stuff. Cindy's just like, screw all these weirdos, I'm off to my room. She gets out in time because Wildcat's put on a Wildcat costume, and then Wildcat throws her out the window onto our man, who catches her, and then she hears it, Cindy hears it, turns around, but Wildcat's scurried up onto the roof now. Her stepmom tries it on with Pat. Pat's just like, whoa, no, 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 no. See you later. Thank you very much indeed. Goodbye. Pat says to, this is the weird thing. This is a weird thing here. Pat says to the group, he's just like, you can't just stand out here in the daylight in your costume. So instead of like Wildcat taking off her hood and maybe putting a coat around her to make it not look like she's got her Wildcat costume on, she covers her tits. She covers her tits and starts running as if she's naked. What? Anyway, weird. So they get out before Cindy can do anything. Courtney goes down to the cellar and tries to grab the staff, but the staff's just like, no, it's going to put you in danger. And then she's like, no, they're all in danger. I need you to stop them from being in danger. So the staff's like, okay. And then Henry finds the key, finds the hole for the keys, which is the wardrobe, which has his father's suit on and all of these day somethings. And he finds a letter between him and Cindy's dad saying, I will make my daughter date your son to keep an eye on him because he's been kept in check. He's not happy about that. Cindy is getting ready, and then look who's coming through the window. Stargirl comes smashing in, and they start fighting again. Big time. Stargirl's going for it this time, firing blasts, heat blasts and shit. And then it goes out, spills out onto the street where Henry turns up. And Henry's like, because he doesn't know what's really going on. Cindy, come on, let's go. And Cindy's just like, get off me. And then he starts to hear their voices. And Cindy's like, I'm going to kill her. I'm going to kill that star-spangled bitch. And Stargirl's like, I've got to defeat Cindy. And then she's too strong for me. And she knows who I am. And I can't die like this. And all these little things. And he can hear it in his head, And it's driving him nuts. He can hear everything. And then he starts to Super Saiyan because of it. And then boosh! Lets loose a massive mind blast. Which does 489 DPS. And is an instant cast. And blasts them both off of each other. And they go flying off in different directions. And then Cindy wants to get back into the fight, but her dad's accolades come out of nowhere and drag her down into the sewer. And then Courtney, realizes that Henry can read her mind, and then Henry's just like, shit! And he runs away. And that is... Oh, no, and then the dad, Cindy's dad's just like, ha, ha, ha. Henry does have his father's power. Because he needs that mind ability to run the machine that he's been working on. And that is where it ends. So it wasn't as good as part 7. It was fine. It was good. But the house bit with the girl was just cringe-inducing. And the development of the rest of the JSA is terrible at the moment. They're not heroes. They're not being heroic. They're being selfish. They're doing things for selfish reasons. We need some selfless, not selfish, some selfless. But I look, this show is very, it's far superior to anything on the CW. And that is why it's such a shame it's going exclusively to the CW next season. One can only cross your fingers and hope. And while I hope that you enjoyed the vid. If you did, do give it a thumbs up and also subscribe to the channel. Follow me on social media and Twitch for YouTube for live streaming. Links are in the description box down below. And I'll be back with some more stuff very soon. You take care. Bye for now.